Hey everybody, welcome to the video, welcome to the channel, welcome to episode 2 of our 3-part mini-series of pouring and forming the ICF suspended floor system for our boat-themed YouTube yacht rental cabin. Episode 1 is already out, link in the description, and when episode 3 comes out, I'll put that link in the description as well. We're jumping in right where we left off on the previous video. By the way, we're using a brand new DJI camera, a new computer, and new editing software, so if things seem different from what you're used to as a subscriber, they probably are. A little bit of a learning curve, but I'm getting the hang of it. Got any questions, leave them in the comments. You want to see how it turns out, make sure you're subscribed.
The next step is all this foam where we had the spray foam between here. You gotta go through and just clean that off the top. It doesn't take a lot, just a little hand work is all. Doesn't have to be perfect, we just can't have, you know, globs the side of Rhode Island hanging out, that's all. Ford block here is gonna probably be my friend on this. Really good. As far as the spray foam around the edges, like that stuff sticking out, that's not going to hurt anything. The only thing I'm going to look for is, well, we get into little globs like that. Just give her the old boot treatment real quick. Side looks pretty good. Plenty of concrete up here, that's not going to hurt anything. Getting into the size of New Hampshire over here. Oh gosh. Oh. Is there a rebar in that? Oh, there is. There was a rebar in it. Okay. There we go. Next, we'll take the skill saw. And I already did it once on the previous video to demonstrate, but we're just going to go around, and anywhere where that hangs past, we're just going to kind of clean it up. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it needs to be a little bit better than what we got going there. So those are all cleaned up all the way around. They look awesome. I also went around to make sure I didn't miss any screws. We're good there. The next step, this is a beam. You can see the ends are kind of jagged. We got to get that all cleaned up. We're just going to chalk a line with the finest Hart chalk line. 1-to-1 ratio, only the best. And we're going to use the Ryobi. How long have I had this, guys? Over a year now. And I'm not good at taking care of tools at all. This has been left out in the rain multiple times, the snow, the frost. It pretty much lives outside, and when I need it, I go find it where I left it last. It's held up. It's held up really well. They didn't send me this. It's not a partnership or sponsorship. I'm just saying that thing's held up to me using it, so that says something. Just a forewarning, this thing is really dull right now, so this isn't gonna be the best. Cut you got there, Mike. Very straight. Looks very. Oh, thank you. Glad you noticed. Yeah, we're gonna have to add something on the bottom side. That's okay. We can add that to the punch list item. Steel is the main goal today. But that looks a lot better. So here's what we've got. Because I cut that back, we've got that open daylight. That also means that those joists, because they're cut, are no longer sitting on that support. Now they would probably be fine that close, but there's no point in risking it. We've got the lumber, 2x6 up flat runners to support that. Same thing on the other side. I'll show you when we're done. So here's what we ended up with. Squeeze, there we go. 2x6 flat. We're ran some supports across, tied into that board there, and then ran another one underneath just to kind of help hold it up there. That's what we got on the front side, and that's the same thing. Squeeze, fellas. Same thing we got on the back side, and I ran one underneath, so it's sitting on top of that. So those are cut out to the size they need to be now. They look great. Love it. They got the support they need on the bottom side. I'm gonna take the leaf blower and just try to get as much of this foam and sawdust and everything, just start trying to get a good cleanup. Get the bottom of these beam pockets, these beams, get those all cleaned out the rest of the way. So I got to put something down here as somewhat of a vapor barrier between the bottom side of that concrete and where the ceiling will be down inside there. And I was going to just run sheets of this EPS like this, but somehow my math was wildly off and I just don't have enough. So I'm going to use what we've got and put it down there, and then whatever is exposed on the bottom, that's just a bridge we'll have to cross whenever we do the ceiling or whatever we do on the bottom side. You're gonna want to not step there. All right, so we're getting ready to do a little spray foam, and actually it went further than I expected. We're still a little short, and I'll show you. I had somebody ask, we've gone over spray foam gun cleaner. They make a cleaner that fits in a can that screws on there. You can spray it through, but we always recommend, or I always recommend, leaving the can on, and normally it'll seal itself up. But somebody asked about cleaning the foam off the tip. The easiest way I've found is just use a utility knife and carve it off there. Once it's cured, that spray foam cleaner doesn't really do much to it. You just kind of got to carve the end off like that, and then get in there and dig that tip around a little bit. You know, don't point it at yourself in case you end up with a little leakage. That should do it. Let's see what we get here. Magical. All right. The next step is to take the spray foam and run that bottom seam all the way around. That top one's going to get tape, and the bottom one gets spray foam. And the thing to remember here is where we're foaming on the outside, that seam, whenever we take the outside coating, the material we're going to use to finish the outside of this, that'll come across that seam. So we're not really worried about how that makes the concrete look when the forms come off. This is more about keeping that concrete inside the forms. Again, we're not worried about how it looks or what it's gonna look like. We're just wanting to keep the concrete in the form boards, that's all. So we got spray foam all the way around the bottom. A little thicker in some spots than others, but that's okay. Not hurting anything. Next thing we need to do is get that taped. So this is what we're taping. We're just wrapping over the top of that. Clean that edge up. It'll make it a little bit nicer looking when we pull the forms off. You can use duct tape or whatever. I have a whole bunch of window flashing left over from whenever we built our house, and I'm just going to use that. I got several rolls of it. We're just going to go along. I got a little, well, it's a hand broom now. We're just going to give her some sweeps and work our way down that line. The only thing I don't know is how that's going to peel off the concrete. You know what I mean? Surely it won't stick too bad. It's made to, supposed to be non-permeable, right? It's flashing. Full disclosure, and I think we're all like this who work on projects. These little steps are in your head. You're like, oh, well, I just got to tape it and foam it, clean up a little bit, we'll be ready for bar. I think those little steps always take longer than we expect. I know that's where I'm at this point in time, but we're still making progress. So, here's what it is. So I went around, I don't know if you can see, if it picks up on camera, but I went around and I sealed the ends of all the 2x6s that are going to be exposed to the concrete. There's a lot of different ways to do that, and I'll show you how I did that later because I still got to do a second coat. I'm going to let that sit overnight. Might be a little controversial, but I think honestly it's going to be the best for what we're working with. We're ready at this point to slide those number 4 bars over and get that side taped. Off camera, unfortunately, I fell through right there, which is concerning. I got to think about this situation. The foam may have been out in the old UV a little too long. Oh, there it is. Okay. Don't step in those parts. Step on the top. That actually went way quicker than I expected. Go ahead and start the bottom side now. Just a good old 13/16 socket. We are taped, we are foamed, the ends are sealed, everything's cleaned out. That is shaped up and cleaned up the way it needs to be. I think we are finally ready, with just a little bit of time left in the day, to start getting our rebar set out. I have one more day after this before we pour. Well, before the pump truck and the concrete truck are scheduled, which is typically when you pour. So I don't, probably that one. Oh, I thought you asked how high my anxiety was. That tree, it's as high as that tree. That's where my anxiety's at right now. Oh gosh. That just can't be good, can it? So we wet set some number 4 pins. Those are full vertical height, meaning they run all the way to the footer. No, that might not be true, but. So we've got some rebar that's been wet set when we poured those walls. You see those? The whole purpose of those, and I bought this handy tool. Listen, a fella can make this pretty easy, but for the price I paid with it all painted up and looking fancy, it's pretty much about the same. So I just bought it. These are supposed to be bent out at a similar angle to this, and then it gets 2 runs of number 4 bar, and then it'll get another piece of bar that comes up and over and tie it into that upper floor system. It's gonna tie in that cantilevered section so it doesn't badoosh, you know? That's the technical term for bad day. Gadoosh. There, you got it. Well, if we got enough room to use it, might just have to slide the pipe over. Oh yeah. That looks pretty close. By the way, when you're moving 2 bar together, they will want to pinch you, so open hands. That's just, I've never taken the time to learn the skill of actually tying wire with pliers. This is what they look like. Well, see, and this is, look, the wire that holds them together has got me stumped. No way I could handle a spool of it. All right. They look like this. They're pre-tied for you. And then you use a cheater tie tool. Just has a hook, swivels, super easy. The only thing you gotta watch, if you twist it too much, it'll break. But it's not bad. Just time consuming. Bit of an optimistic change. So I ended up with a random extra half day off this week. I didn't anticipate that. It's a weird little thing with our schedule that happens every now and then. But anywho, I ended up with one. And timing could not be more perfect because that means now I have 2 half days to get this finished instead of 1 more half day. And that just makes a fella feel good. That also means that I was able to get to the store, pick up some more foam so we can finish this last little section there. But before we do that, let's do the second coat of sealant on the end of these 2x6 joists. It's literally, I'm just using rubberized undercoating. Listen, there's a couple different options. I could have put some tar paper over it, some plastic over it. The whole point is to separate the wood from the concrete so that wood doesn't wick moisture in from that concrete, because it will over time do that. And I just thought about it and decided this was the best option. Obviously that's not what this is made for, but you can see how these don't fit in there perfect. And if I put plastic on or paper on, it would want to roll or push, or there's no way every one of them would stay perfectly attached while we pour the concrete. But with this, I can get down the sides and everything and really make sure that it's protected as good as it needs to be. So although it's not the intended purpose, I think it's exactly what I need to be doing. Stop recording. Now, the winter shadows are a battle sometimes. The foam is in, that's finished, that's ready to go. It's not something we have to come back and clean up later when we're done pouring. It's ready. All right, we got a whole bunch of rebar tying ahead of us, and I still got to figure out what goes on what level and that kind of thing, but we'll figure it out together. So I'm going to show you the way I do this. This is not a how-to channel, and I'm not giving you advice. I'm just sharing the way I do it. See how this curve comes out? Bar goes straight. This bar comes past. We got to get that to tie in nice and even. All right. Tried to rearrange so you can see a little bit better. Tie this in first, then closest to the radius, whatever, I don't know. Just tie that in first. And then to make this bend, all I do is I just roll that bar down and kind of rely on that tie. Now this will try to grab your skin and pinch you, so careful where you put your fingers at. Now I just run another tie on this end to hold it. One in the middle. And then one more on the original end to try to close that gap up just a little bit. But that's how I run them. Now that bar carries that radius like it needs to. So we have that all the way around, all the way to the bow, bends back, looks great. It's time to start working on this number 5 bar. If you remember, we bent these to tie the top and the bottom together. These will slide out just a little bit so they sit on the actual concrete wall. I'm gonna tie them together up here on the foam. It's just gonna be a little bit easier. Then we can put them down into place. We are really making some headway now. All the number 4 bar that runs left to right or right to left, however you'd like to look at it, is in place, or at least cut and staged all the way across. Now we still have the grid. It's going to run that way, obviously. But before we run that, I've got some chairs. I'm going to go ahead and start getting some chairs spaced and installed. So this chair actually locks in both directions, which is kind of nice because when you use the chair, there's not as much rebar tying to be done. Just got to make sure we're paying attention to which way that is orientated, Oreos, which way it's facing. All right, following morning, burned up most of my daylight yesterday. We're gonna burn up all of it tonight. We'll probably be in the dark for a little bit of this video. I got tired of worrying about that hole in the floor and the state of the styrofoam. So after I burned up most of that daylight, I headed to the store and picked up a little bit more lumber so we can do something about it. That way I don't have to worry about it anymore. Let's just fix it. I got enough things going against me right now. By the way, you are on the DJI. I am loving it so far. The only exception I have learned is that there are certain settings on the camera that are not compatible with the mobile app, and I do all of my editing. All my editing is done on an iPad because I like that mobile convenience of being able to take that iPad wherever I go and sneak in a little bit of editing here and there. So, for instance, if you film 3 days worth of work for a little mini series you're doing, and then you expect to be able to download that and get it edited in a timely manner, you're gonna be in for a rude surprise. But that's okay. We're working on a solution. This is your reminder when the world's sitting there kicking your butt, don't forget to look back in your corner. You got a lot of support there, I promise you. So we've got those up all the way around, ran them down the center spans. It's not going to do anything for the weight as far as the actual span goes in the main beams. We've got plenty here, more than they recommend. The old better safe than sorry adage as far as that goes. The whole goal of these and what I'm trying to do is that center section. Let's just, cool magic trick. That center section, this is where it broke out. I still got to patch it. Where that's at. And my theory is because this stuff's been sitting out in the weather so long, that's got a little brittle. So my plan with that spanning that, attach the joist, if this decides it wants to, see how it's got some flex in it, then it can rest on that. There with my tape measure, and we've got that running down the middle. So hopefully, if it decides that that needs to go somewhere and it doesn't have the strength to hold because of the deterioration, it'll rest on this 2x6 and not blow all the way through. We're gonna, I got the scrap, you're upside down looking up, we're gonna spray foam this edge and then put a couple across there. Real fancy like. Nope. Oh, dang it. Got it. No, well, also no. Now wait a minute. Is that right the first time? I was right the first time. Okay. And that's what we ended up with there for that patch. There are a couple other punch list items I need to do down here. We can get the truck with headlights. That is one place. See that glare? Does that show up on camera? The GoPro does better with the glares there. We're gonna have to do a DJI GoPro comparison video. There are things I like about both, things I don't like about both. That is a fancy camera shot. We got some punch list items we gotta do. Let's just go ahead and get them done. I can put headlights up on the rebar. Like I said, I can light that up tonight and work all night if I need to, but I don't have a way to get the truck in here. So with these walk boards around here, you can see right where we're at. Now, this gets center screeded off this all the way around, working their way around the edge. Whoever's run the inside of that screed board, instead of trying to balance up here or boot their way, if they want, they've got the option to hang out down here, and they can really pull on that board and work it back and forth a little bit more comfortable if they want. They don't have to. But with that, the inside or the bottom side is 100% finished. Not 99.1, not 99.9, 100% finished. Let's go ahead and do the punch list all the way around the outside as well. We got to get it done. We have to. There's no option not to. So I've got about 80 of these cut. I have these supports. Remember that concrete's going to be pushing down, comes down off the support and rests here. And each one of these has about 2 screws, but we can't rely purely on, or I don't want to, purely on the 2 screws that are in there. So all the way along the bottom, we're gonna run these blocks so it's got a little bit more to catch it. That's the goal. And treated was not what I wanted to use for this. Obviously it's a little more expensive, but it's what I've got left on the job site. So that's what we're using. You guys have it the whole time I'm sitting here looking for it. Come on, you guys gotta let me know that stuff. So we've got blocks all the way around there. I also went through and double checked to make sure I had all my screw placement good. All the way around the back side of the stern. That is all blocked off and ready to go. And that feels really good. It has started to drizzle a little bit and the temperature is definitely dropping. It's supposed to get a little chilly tonight. Currently 12:30. Let me show you what we're doing next. Right here at the back side, I need to put a board across the bottom of that so that plywood doesn't blow out. I need to do that on both sides. And then I need to take a short block and tuck up in there, screw from that side so that I can pull that piece of plywood over. That'll make more sense whenever you just see me do it. So that finished up fine. I'm super happy with that. Very happy with it, actually. I got a little trimming to do with the circular saw there on that piece of plywood. Same on that one. I'm not going to show you guys that. I got to do some rebar. I still have a little bit of work to do up on the bow, on the outside. But this rebar is giving me so much anxiety. I got to get it in there, get it tied. And all our gravel here is crushed limestone. And every now and then you get these little pieces of, I don't know, what is it, like quartz? Our daughters, they call them crystals. The only time I see them poking up in the gravel, I always grab them and take them back with me. They love that stuff. So we got that outer edge there. I'll show you in a second. I'm having a little bit of an internal debate. So with these chairs, the top of that bar sits at 2 inches. The top of the next piece of bar will be 2.5, which puts it almost dead center in the slab. And it needs to be lower in the slab. I couldn't find 1-inch chairs. That was the shortest chairs I could find. I think, unfortunately, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to feed sticks underneath and pull them up to tie them, which will put that bottom piece, the top at 1 inch. We can pull it up a little bit as we pour if we need to, but it needs to be lower in the concrete for the suspended floor aspect of this. All right, so I've got a system for getting this bar underneath. It's actually working better than I expected. I thought this was going to be a pain in the butt. It's actually not too bad. With the gloves on, I can never hook the tape. Oh God, that's the worst. That's the worst part. Got it. So step one, I just need to measure my length. I lost my other tape measure. If you happen to see it somewhere in the video, let me know. It's green, so it shouldn't be too hard to find, right? I mean, it's definitely a pain in the butt compared to just putting it on top, but it's going to get it to the depth we need, which is crucial. I'm going to time lapse you through this battery probably, because we got to go. It's like 3. The light is fading exceptionally fast today with the clouds. But the good news is I've got everything cut, bent, and staged. And quite a bit of it's already tied together, but I ran out of rebar ties. I got those pieces bent for the bow. I got these pieces back here bent for the corner. Everything is where it needs to be. I just got to get it all tied together. And the exciting part is that's going to be the morning of the pour, because, well, I got to go on shift tomorrow. I get to go on shift tomorrow. And then after that, I'm heading straight home to pour some concrete. So it's going to be the morning of the pour. I got to put a pin there and a pin there, so all those have something to pull back to. Let me go grab the hammer drill, and that'll be the next thing. I hate to tell you this, but the next few shots are just going to be me working until the camera can't pick up the light anymore. And then, I don't know.
So drove some hammer drilled some number 4 pins into the tail section of the stern to support the paddle wheel, so I can tie all that number 4 bar to. Yeah, we still have a ton of work to do. We're pretty close, but nowhere near ready to pour, and concrete is coming the next day I'm off. The next video, which will be coming out tomorrow, or if you're looking at this in the future, then it's already in the description. It's already happened, and we've already poured. Make sure you're subscribed, make sure you have notifications on, and make sure you're staying tuned to see how this thing goes. Dirt Perfect shows up, Man Behind the Scenes shows up, and my brother show up. It's awesome, and you guys aren't going to want to miss it. I appreciate you watching, and we'll catch you in the next installment of this little mini-series. And let me know what you think about the little 3-part mini-series. I'm looking for your feedback.